He didn't like him then. He doesn't like him now. I don't know why everybody was surprised about this. What did you think he was going to come out and say at the press conference? Spoiler alerts. Spoiler alerts. Okay, I've given you enough time to pause it so you can go watch the movie. The funny thing is, I've heard more talk about the WNBA in the past month than I have for the previous 10 years. Welcome to this week's Be About It podcast. As always, I'm here. I'm your man, CJ. We're always running this alone until I find that perfect co-host. One day I will find that he, she, they, them, whatever, but it will be magical. I guarantee. We will create magic together. But until that day, I will keep rocking this alone, coming in live every week on TikTok if you ain't following already. But you can always look us up, find us on the web. That is www.beaboutitpodcast.com. Again, that's www.beaboutitpodcast.com. Now, there has been some interesting stuff happen this week. I know we most have seen Mr. De Niro. Yes, the actor turned well, no, not politics. He's just been always outspoken. Since 2016, Robert De Niro has been outspoken against Trump. Nothing has changed in 8 years at all. He didn't like him then. He doesn't like him now. I don't know why everybody was surprised about this. What did you think he was going to come out and say at the press conference? Where did you think his loyalties were going to lie? Do you think he had changed his mind? That he was going to come out and say, yeah, Trump's not a bad guy? No, he was going to come out and do the exact same thing he's been doing for 8 years. He has never hid his dismay for former President Trump there. But, you know, he had some interesting things to say. So I gave my bipartisan look as always. Let's hit the highlights of his little speech there. Now, he is blaming Trump for the craziness around New York and saying he wants total chaos. Trump, being a New Yorker, as is as well, you know, real estate guru, always made his money that way. Well, except for the little $20 million that he was given by his dad to start a business, which, if you see the big picture, $20 million taken into billions, still an accomplishment. Say what you want. All right. And, you know, he was very calm in the most. Now, this is all the while, there is some massive yelling Trump supporters, slurs, racial slurs. Were everything under the sun that they were throwing at him. He was not received well on this. And this is why I've always said politics and acting need to separate themselves from each other. Keep your views to yourself. And like, my views are my own. I report what I see. I talk about things, and I give my honest opinion on a lot of things. But when it comes to who I support, those are my choices, and I keep those to me. If anybody asked, I'm happy to tell you. But if not, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But De Niro has been very outspoken, and he has not stopped. Now, he did express love for New York and says that Trump can destroy the city and someday the world. But he apparently, that is his town, his city, his state. He loves New York, and I could see it. I mean, he's got a New York accent. He's a lot of work that he's done is centered around people and things in New York. So I can't really say he's lying on that one. In all honesty, I don't think De Niro feels he's lying at all. But to call Trump a two-bit playboy and clown, whew, man, threw out the big ones, threw out the big guns. But, and he was saying clowns in New York are a part of the city and our heritage, and we make room for it. Basically calling some New Yorkers clowns. It's really a way to win over all the public. Make room for all the clowns. Clowns coming through. Here you go. Come on. Yeah, come on. But, I mean, De Niro 4 years ago had a legitimate stance on it, and a lot of people had lost faith and all that in Trump. But over the past 4 years, I've seen a lot of people shifting their alliances from one to the other for whatever reason you want to say. But he has definitely caught some eyes, and he has changed some hearts over these past 4 years, at least one or the other. Either that or a lot of people have fallen out of love with Biden and have decided, you know what, I'll take an asshole over that, and let's go. But And there was lots of shouts from the crowd all the way through. There was so many people that were not happy with. I mean, New York was showing their, I don't want to say their side, but man, there was some anger coming out of there. And I mean, I felt it watching. I actually felt as he was leaving. I'll get to that in a minute. But he was also saying that Trump will use violence against anyone that stood between his megalomaniac greed. Now, if you're going to talk about greed, you cannot say for money-wise when it comes to Trump. He's lost money when he ran for president the first time, and he lost money while he was in there, not even taking a salary, donating it all to charity. So he's not taking money from his position. So you can't say greed is money, but I think what Mr. De Niro was actually saying was his greed for power. Now that I might be able to, I was like, see, but I would have used a different word other than greed, because greed implies money. But Trump really doesn't want the money. He wants to get in there and do things. And here's where a lot of people, they take me the wrong way, but whenever I choose my politician, I don't want to hear about how bad the politician to their left had messed up. I want to hear about the good that you're going to do if I elect you. Now, here's the thing where Trump got a lot of support is because whenever he said he was going to do something, he did it. He didn't go in there with empty promises. He tried to fulfill as many as he could that he said on the campaign. So if says something and is going to do it, that is where my vote is going to go. Now, truth be told, there's a lot of people out there that don't like, I was like Biden. There's a lot of people that don't like Trump. And I hate to say it, this might be the worst election ever because it's going to be voting against who you don't like versus who's actually better for the country. I don't care who you think is better. Vote for that person. But vote because you think they're better, not because of how much you dislike the other person. Everybody's saying, I was like, we're really going to elect a criminal, we're going to elect I was like, asshole. And you know what? There's never been any question if Trump was an asshole. He was asshole before he got elected the first time. We all knew. And he still got elected. So it's not that. We don't care about the entirety of the is Trump an asshole chant. Don't care. What can he do for this country that's better than what the president is doing now? That really needs to be what's used against that, but not out of greed. But the one thing that did kind of strike me as wrong is he refers to Trump supporters as a gang that grovels and follows at the foothills of Donald Trump. I actually was like, man, that is not the truest of statements. Now that we, like any other supporters, we have people that are upset and people that want to see, Trump get in. But you have people that are just as radical on the Biden side that are willing to throw hate at Trump supporters just for wearing a hat, not saying a word, sitting quietly in a restaurant wearing a hat, and they feel the need to go up to them and show prejudice against them because of who they support. Again, that is bullshit. Excuse the language, but I had to get it out there. Whoever you support, it doesn't matter. Support them, but don't try to force your opinions on someone else. Now, you can have a discussion with anybody, but do not force anybody to succumb to your beliefs. Not cool, not right. Let's move on to the next one. But he also referred to his 2016 run as a joke. I can kind of see that. I laughed a lot actually during his 2016. It was entertaining. His debates with Hillary were awesome. So, I mean, I'm just saying what it is. Said it was like a buffoon running for president, but politicians have not faced anything like Donald Trump because Donald Trump, this isn't a job to him. His job was making billions or millions on real estate deals. So whenever you got a guy that's really pushing for the betterment, and not the betterment of the top 2%, but maybe the betterment of the whole, that is why he's gotten so much supporters. A lot of people, what does the lower class and the lower middle have to do with anything in common with Donald Trump. It's not that I can't see life through Donald Trump's eyes. I've never had $1 million to my name, so why would I ever be able to see how he has lived? Don't care. I, like everybody else, gauge him on what he has done. Well, not like everybody else, but I gauge him on what he has done for the country. And I think he, if nothing else, comes from his runs. It has opened the eyes to a lot of voters that there are other options out there. And I think that is an important step as well. But Mr. De Niro, Robert, if I may call you that, says that if Trump gets in again, he will never leave. And that he will be like I'm a dictator for life.
What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life?
There's actually laws in place that prevent that. Last 3-term president was Roosevelt, died in office, unfortunately, during World War II. So, but since then, the Congress has ratified the ability for a person to run a third time. I don't care how much support someone can get. That's kind of a staple. I don't see that happening. But as he was leaving talking, he was saying, Democrats. I was like, we're trying to be gentlemen here. And he was referring to Republicans and Trump supporters as gangsters. Again, he has a very bleak outlook about Trump supporters and Republicans in general. I honestly think he needs, I would love, you know what I would really love? Let's get Robert De Niro and Donald Trump in a room, separated by glass, hopefully, because those two old guys to get down. Robert De Niro looks like he'd be willing to throw a punch. But let them sit down and talk. Now, each of them get so many minutes to talk. And you know what? Ratings will probably go through the roof on that one, because who would not want to see that sit down? Obviously a Trump hater and Donald Trump in the same room. Let's get it going. Let them hash it out. Maybe they can come eye to eye, or at least comment with the insults. Come on. But as Mr. De Niro was leaving, he was receiving a whole bunch of hate. I mean, yelling, screaming, a woman telling him to suck a certain private part usually found on men. If I wasn't descriptive enough, just leave me a comment. I think I nailed it. People calling him racial slurs, saying he's a traitor to Italians. As he was getting out there, he had security around him, so there wasn't like he was there by himself and he was standing alone and saying all this. No, he had his security, he had his detail. He was making sure he got out of there. He's an 80-year-old man. Come on. But after he shot back, and they shot back, and they shot back, he finally leaves. Now, the fallout of this, a lot of people have... Now, there is one random one where Kevin Costner has fired De Niro. As I understand, that is a rumor. Nothing official has happened. So unless someone leaked something that they weren't supposed to and then they just covered it up, that's nothing that's been happened. But now something that has happened is Robert De Niro has had an award stripped from him due to his speech on last Tuesday. And it was a prestigious leadership award that was going to be presented to him by the NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters. Now, I read into this and I wanted to know why. The biggest thing was because they are a bipartisan. They do not bring politics into it. They report, and that is what they do. They don't want to go either side, which if you actually look at most broadcasters, they do not flip either side. Now, you got a few that are obviously one way and a few that are obviously the other, but most broadcasters want to go straight down the middle, report the news, nothing more, nothing less, keep their opinions to themselves. Good old-fashioned. But you do have the ones, but they actually stripped him of that. And I can understand it too, because leadership is not inciting a riot or rage or anger. Leadership is leading by example, in my opinion. And he obviously did not do that by just basically cutting him down, name calling, and all of his speech. But I do not think this is the end of Mr. De Niro's fall. I think this is just the beginning. I think it will calm down eventually, but I don't think we'll see him anytime soon. He'll be on a Biden campaign. As he said in his little press conference, he fully intends to support Biden on the campaign and all that. Biden-Harris. So we'll see how that falls in. But one thing I did saw something. And Dennis Quaid, actually, this has nothing to do with De Niro, just something I wanted to say because I saw it and I liked it, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But Dennis Quaid was asked on a news station what he thinks of Trump, and he says, I think I'm going to vote for him. Immediately was asked, are you ready for the blowback? Like, that is the only thing that could happen. But he says what changed was when he saw the weaponization of our justice system and a challenge to our Constitution. That's a direct quote on it. So, and I see where he's coming. If you've been watch news, if you research all this stuff, I personally believe that, now this is my personal belief. If the House, Congress, everybody up on Capitol Hill would spend half the time that they spent trying to get Trump out and keep him out into working this country, that we would be a better country overall. And this country wouldn't be turning on our typical politicians because we would feel like you're working for us. Right now, it seems like you're collecting a paycheck to keep one person out of office. Not the best use of my money, at least at what I think, but I look forward to whenever politicians are willing to do what it needs to be. Like I was reading the other day, how I think it was 50 or 60 some odd House representatives are leaving. Now, a few of them passed away, which leads me to another topic where about term limits, which should be happening in the House and Congress. But that's a different story altogether, because that has been a long dream and long thought of mine. But you have some that are House of Representatives that are going in and have stated that they do not feel they are doing anything anymore because they feel that between the fighting, the bickering, nothing is getting done. So it's not just the people in the United States as citizens that are feeling this, but the politicians are starting to feel it as well. Now that politicians are starting to feel it, what's going to be next? But Dennis Quaid also finished this, as he said that. He said, he might be an asshole, but he's my asshole. Dennis Quaid, a man of few words, but it was poetic. And that's really what the voting, and you're keeping your opinion. Dennis Quaid put his name out there. He wasn't ashamed of it, but he justified why he saw it. And I can respect that. So I'm going to take a couple moments of a rest real quick, get a couple drinks in, and then we're going to start in. I got a chance to watch a movie that's perfect in topic with the De Niro thing. And I'm going to talk about that when I come back in just 1 second. Bye. All right. And we are back. And like I said, I watched a movie, finally got down to watching Civil War. Now, this movie is exactly what it sounds like. There's no hidden meaning in the title. There's no artistic view of things. It was really kind of reality almost, or what could be. First off, it was a great movie. For the title of War, there is not as much action and fighting as you would think there would be. It is probably maybe 1/3 or 1/4 of the movie. But the whole movie is centered around, now, spoiler alerts. Okay, I've given you enough time to pause it so you can go watch the movie. All right. It is about following the press, a few reporters, photojournalists that are trying to make it to Washington to interview and photograph the president. So, after we were watching that, now we sat down as a family and watched it. Had my baby girl over there watching it. She was a little upset whenever she thought we weren't going to watch it last night, but we ended up watching it. And to be honest, watching this show hit really close to home. It really did, because with everything going on in the world right now in the United States and the division by Democrats, Republicans, liberals, everything, it kind of seemed more like it could be a futuristic and not too distant futuristic reality. But it really follows the press and how they're trying to just report the story and how they're going through this thing, and you get behind it, and the movie was truly amazing. Absolute. The whole premise behind it was you had the West Coast, which the West Alliance, which was California and Texas, which seemed a little weird to me that they threw California in there with Texas. But I was like, okay, I'll bite. Let's see what we got. But they were watching, or like California, Texas, were marching on DC. And, to be honest, from what I was watching on the show, there really wasn't much opposition. There was a few fights, but it seemed like the West Coast was kind of just marching as well as they feel like, taking town to town. And they had military equipment, which would make a lot of sense if you do a little research into where Texas is. So, but you knew they had to make Texas in there. But they really didn't say who was good guy and bad guy. They really stayed away from that point. They didn't say why this war started. They didn't say who fired the first punch. They really just kind of let the press and showed how the civilians were doing it. And a lot of the civilians were just kind of like, I'm just staying away from this. I don't want to be a part of it. Leave me alone. Let me just live this life. And apparently Canadian money became more valuable than U.S. currency at that point, which not the first time that's happened. That's happened in a few different futuristic movies. But the country was divided. Most of them just wanted to pretend like it wasn't happening, but it was. And I could actually see that. A lot of people, if a civil war broke out, would be like, oh, y'all go ahead. I'm going to just sit over here and make some tea. Leave me alone. Leave me out of this. But the one thing I noticed the most on this, now I do say watch this movie because I'm probably going to watch it once or twice more, because there was the things that I picked up on that I don't want to say because I don't want to give too many spoilers out there, but there was a couple things that I picked up on that were kind of odd. I didn't really see a government formation of the West Alliance. There was no president, Congress, or anything. There was just kind of people that were tired of it and they were fighting. And that's something I took away from that. But the best thing of this show was the music score. I hope that I see this on Academy Award nominee for music or sound score, because they had such a great one. There were times where the music was playing and the actors were acting, not saying a word, you couldn't hear anything that they were saying, but the music was playing and it fit so perfect into that scene that it really just, you felt it. You didn't have to hear anything, but you felt what was going on, almost like an opera. So that's where I kind of took away from that. But that was the absolute best part of it. It was the actual musical score on it. Now, if you have not watched it, Civil War movie, go watch it. It's great. It's worth a watch. A lot of people will watch it, probably never watch it again because of how close it hits home and how scary of a reality it could be. But I definitely think it's worth a watch positively, at least one. Now, I've talked about Mr. De Niro. I have talked about the Civil War movie, but I want to round this out with, I can't believe I'm talking about this, Miss Caitlyn Clark. Now, a lot of controversy since Caitlyn Clark has come into the WNBA. a lot of people are very confused. She signed a very good contract for herself. Now, personally, I see nothing wrong with that. Pretty much any athlete is going to look after their own self-interest. She did nothing different from which anybody else. And she immediately signed a couple shoe deals or athletic wear, whatever she did. Like she had some endorsements immediately, which 2 times, I was like, she was a back-to-back. I was like, college basketball. I was like, league champ, or not champion, but player of the year. So she had done some wonderful things in college, and now she's coming in. The funny thing is, I've heard more talk about the WNBA in the past month than I have for the previous 10 years. So I want you to think about that. I was like, let me rewind that. More talk about the WNBA in the last month than the previous 10 years. Think about that. The WNBA is paying their players pennies compared to NBA players, which you have some true talent as far as the women's basketball league, but there's not the fan support. And now finally you have fan support. You have people that are watching, if nothing else, to see the drama unfold. Why are you upset? As if you were any other player in the league, you should be happy this is going on, because this is getting people talking about the WNBA. This is getting people behind it. This is getting people invested. This is getting people watching. Why is that a bad thing? And you can't blame one person. Why are you angry at this person for it? Now, I'm not defending her. I don't know what was said before. She could have called that woman a very mean and ugly thing, but Caitlyn Clark seems to be the target in pretty much every game. They're going after her, and that seems like all anybody can talk about. But Angel Reese had apparently taken it too far, the Chicago Star. Now, we all saw the video. Caitlyn Clark asking for the rebound or the inbound, and Angel coming over and giving a stiff shoulder into her, blind shoulder, knocking her down. No, there was a foul there, Caitlyn took her free throw, made it her free throw, and they won by 1 point. So technically, Angel gave them that winning shot. But they changed it and they upgraded the foul. They made it can't remember exactly which one. Sorry, doing this all by memory. I have my short notes here, but do most of this by memory, which henceforth the hands, magic fingers and stuff like that. But they upgraded her foul. I was like, and fined her. I was like, into a hard foul, and fines her for skipping post-game interview, which we saw the interview too. And she's like, I'm not answering any questions about Caitlyn Clark. No. Now, there was some serious anger towards her. I don't know where it stems from. Now, again, Caitlyn Clark may be a trash talker on that court. She may have said some really bad, nasty things. She may have insulted her mama. We never thought about that. But we have, as far as everything going on, I did think she took it too far with that hard shoulder tackle, because that was rough, and that was on TV, and everybody's going to always notice that. But as she hasn't talked out about it, I think she did a little interview on that one, but I haven't read that yet. I should have before this, but I was trying to get on tonight for y'all. But like I was saying, if nothing else, everything is leading back to talking about the WNBA, talking about a fight. You know what? Think about when the NBA was still young. Now, 100 years ago, it was all just a fun game. But when the NBA was young, starting out, it was not the biggest thing. Now, what made it such a big thing was the rivalries. And even if you weren't alive in the 80s, Google this. There was a serious rivalry between Boston and LA. And every year, one of them was in the finals. And every year, both of them were fighting for that spot. When they played in the finals, which only happened a couple times, 2 or 3 times, I think, but the roofs blew off of that place. It was massive. So I think the WNBA has really been looking for a spark that can get people involved and get people listening and get people watching. And maybe Caitlyn Clark is it. Don't know. I would love to see some, let's see if she can't get into a rivalry team-wise, not fight-wise. We don't need to see too much of that, if I'm being honest. But the one thing I did hear is whenever Caitlyn Clark is coming to a town, that some places are actually upgrading to larger arenas to accommodate ticket sales. Now, am I crazy in thinking that that's exactly what you want? It sounds like the WNBA is finally on the right track, kicking ass, and people are upset. If you are a player in the NBA and don't like Caitlyn Clark for whatever reason, it better not be for what's happening with the WNBA, because the more the WNBA grows, the higher that they can pay these women that rightfully deserve it. Let's face it, some of these athletes are amazing women, and I would even go hand to hand say that there's probably a handful of them that could play in the NBA, and not as a backup, but as a starter. So that's how I want to say that. But in order to get people watching, and get these women paid, and get everybody behind it, I think you need something like this. And Caitlyn Clark's giving it to them. And I hope that this WNBA continues to grow, continues to get support. And who knows what we're seeing down the road. But as we call that to an end, we talked about Robert De Niro and his famous speech. We talked about the movie Civil War, and we ended it with some Caitlyn Clark talk. So we had some sports talk, some movie review, and some politics. Man, we hit all the dials today. So now that we've done all that, it is time for me to wrap things up. And as I wrap everything up, I always like to give a little moment of clarity on things. When you're going out there as a Democrat, as a Republican, your views are your own. Don't try to force them on anybody else. If you want to change someone's opinion, talk with them. Don't yell at them. If you want to change someone's voting, talk to them. Don't yell at them and call them an idiot. You're proving their point on why they want to vote the other way. This country was founded by a group of old rich men, saying how it is. They wanted to fight for a lower tax, did not want taxation without representation. If you feel you must talk about your political views with other people, don't force it, but do talk. Why not? Maybe you change someone's mind for the better. Maybe you change it for the worse if you come at me. Like if you were an ass and coming to me, telling me how stupid I am for voting for somebody that I actually believed in, you didn't win me. You just forever lost me. So always take that into consideration and going forward. And remember, whether you agree with someone or not, we're all citizens in this country, and we all want what's best for it. Ideally, we all want what's best for us. So let's not try to recreate the wheel. Let's just try to help each other build a car. But y'all have a great night. Thank you very much for tuning in. And again, if you have not got on to www.beaboutitpodcast.com, yes, website and everything. I'm a big boy show. Get on there, check it out. You can subscribe. It's free. I do not charge. I am doing this for the fun of it. Weird, I know. But go to the website, www.beaboutitpodcast.com. You can subscribe. You can check out videos. You can get links to all my social platforms. You can check out past episodes. Feel free. But again, thank you very much for attending. Had a great time. And as I always say, let's wrap this up with, don't talk about it. Let's be about it. Have a great one.